May this festival lights open our eyes to the joys in life, beauty that delights the eye, freedom to be ourselves, the knowledge of Torah that shapes our moral being, the heritage of celebration that unites us as a people. Praise you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, for giving us life, sustaining us, and enabling us to reach this season.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'achianu v'kiyamanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh.
Thank you, darling.
We turn to page 125. We read together at the bottom. May our eyes sparkle with the light of Torah, and our ears hear the music of its words. May the space between each letter of the scrolls bring warmth and comfort to our soul. May the syllables draw holiness from our heart, and may this holiness be gentle and soothing to us and all God's creatures. We turn to page 130 for the Baruch Hu as we all rise. Yai da dai 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 dai. Yai da dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 dai. Yai da dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed. Page 133. Hafach ba v'hafach ba deholava. Turn Torah and keep turning it, for everything can be found within it. Keep your eyes attached to it. Spend your lifetime in its study. Never budge from it, for there is no better way of life than this. The Chatimah can be found at the bottom of page 132. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Page 135. We read together. Source of life, every year you plant within us a new tree of life. May it be your will that this year our Torah blossoms with kindness and not cruelty, wisdom and not foolishness, awareness and not thoughtlessness. May you teach us a Torah of love that will nourish us in every season. The Chatimah can be found at the bottom of page 134. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. Page 138. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavacha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtacha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha b'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'yisharecha l'mahan tizkaruhu V'asitem et kol mitzvotai, v'yetem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, v'hiot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet. We turn to page 142. Yappa bim bim bam, yappa ba bim bam, yappa ba bim bim bam, yappa ba bim bam, yai dai 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 dai, yappa ba bim bam, yai dai 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 dai, yappa ba bim bam, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nero b'kodesh, Norat hilot osefele, Norat hilot osefele, Mahalachutecha ra'u banecha, Bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zeli, Zeli, anu ve'amru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, Yappa ba bim bim bam, Yappa ba bim bam, Yappa ba bim bim bam, Yappa ba bim bam, Yai dai 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 dai, Yappa ba bim bam, Yai dai 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 dai, Yappa ba bim bam. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל Yisrael. We turn to page 145 and read together at the bottom. May we lie down this night in peace and rise up to life renewed. May this night spread over us a canopy of calm, lifted by the blessing of rest. There will come a time when the morning will bring no word of war, famine, or anguish. There will come a dawn to rejoice in the peace of mind, heart, and being. Praised are you, the source of renewal within us, for the night's rest and for the promise of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Just a reminder that our liturgy truly is timeless. Page 146 at the bottom. Vaydaber Moshe et Moedei Adonai el Bnei Yisrael. And Moses declared the appointed festivals of Adonai to the people Israel. We are going to turn together to page 204. And before we rise for the Amidah, I would like to alert you that we are going to be having some inserts into our traditional Amidah. We will be doing it out loud because traditionally the evening Amidah is done silently, but we have enough inserts that we want to make sure that you can navigate that. So we turn together to page 204 and we rise for the Amidah. Adonai, sifatai tiftachu fi agita dilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Komer Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mebid Geula Livnei Bneihem, למען שמו ואהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחייב ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Together at the bottom of 209. Remember those whose hearts poured out to you like water, who trusted that the journey would lead to you. For Abraham and Sarah's faith, do not withhold water. Remember the one chosen for her words, please take some water. And remember the one whose blood was almost spilled like water. For Rebekah and Isaac's righteousness, grant water. Remember how Jacob crossed the river to wrestle in the waters of his conscience. Recall the sisters' tears, their waters of birth, their tents of peace. For Jacob, Rachel, and Leah fill the earth with needed water. Livracha v'lo liklela, l'chaim v'lo l'mavet, l'sova v'lo l'razon. For blessing and not for curse. For life and not for death, for abundance, not want. 210. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha salah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. Bottom of page 214. You have chosen us in love and favor, by making us holy through your mitzvot and drawing us close to your service, that through us your great and holy name may become known in all the earth. In your love, Adonai our God, you have given us feasts of gladness and seasons of joy, this festival of Atzeret Simchat Torah, season of rejoicing, to unite in worship and recall the exodus from Egypt. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Ya'aleh v'Yavo v'Yizacher zichronenu, v'zichron kol amcha Beit Yisrael lefanecha, l'tova l'cheinu chesed u'rachamim, l'chaim u'shalom, v'yom hashmini chag ha'atzeret hazeh. Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo l'tova.
Amen.
Ufogdenu bo livracha.
Amen.
Voshienu bo l'chaim.
Amen.
Amen. This day remember us for well-being.
Amen.
This day bless us with your nearness.
Amen.
This day help us to a fuller life.
Amen.
218 we read together. Bestow upon us the blessings of your holy festivals, and may we so celebrate them as to be worthy of your blessing. Our God and God of our ancestors, make us holy with your mitzvot, and let your Torah be our way of life. May our rest on this day be pleasing in your sight. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. Let your holy festivals remain our heritage, and let us celebrate them with joy, so that all Israel, hallowing your name, may have cause to rejoice. We praise you, Adonai, who sanctifies the house of Israel and its festivals. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh Yisrael v'hazmanim. We continue silently to page 228. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. So we are going to turn to page 230. This Seder Kriyat HaTorah is going to be quite different from any one that you will experience outside of Simchat Torah. We're going to have a lot of stuff going on in this Torah service. First thing, if you do not have one of our green bracelets, there are 2 requirements to wearing a green bracelet. You have to be able to carry the Torah, and you have to be an adult Jew over the age of 13 who has gone through all of their conversion. If that fits you and you feel good about it, please go back and grab one of our bracelets, because these are the folks that you can pass your Torah to. Everybody else gets to dance and make sure that we all don't trip over the person carrying the Torah, which is a hefty responsibility as well. If you either have just had shoulder surgery, or you are not yet Jewish, or you are not yet 13, please do not wear one of these bracelets. Help us by keeping the aisles and the people who have the Torah from being bumped into. Does that sound good? If you are of the age that you would like a stuffy Torah, I would like, Ronan, you're going to come up and grab our stuffy Torah for us? So it's my honor to invite up Ronan to be our first Torah carrier for our stuffy Torah. Not yet, Ronan, not yet. One sec. You stand right here, okay? Awesome. And it's my pleasure to invite up Barton Barrow to carry one of our other Torahs. And then Tova, do you mind if I invite you up as our president to carry the other Torah? We're going to get out 2 Torahs to start with. If there's somebody who is really passionate about bringing our 3rd Torah out, just raise your hand and I will hand that to you. Okay, Michael, I knew you'd be the guy. Come on up. Right, I always feel weird leaving one back in the ark. Yeah, agreed. So what's going to happen is we're going to do 7 hakafot with our Torahs. Your job is to make sure that our Torahs get danced around the room at least once for every song that I sing. You are going to hear me singing things in between that is kind of a signal to you that we are on the next hakafah. It'll go, Hoshiana, Hoshiana, Hatzlichana, Hatzlichana, Anenu v'yom korenu, Anenu, Anenu v'yom korenu, Anenu, Anenu v'yom korenu, Anenu, Anenu v'yom korenu, Anenu, Anenu v'yom korenu. That's your signal that we're going to move on to a different song and a different hakafah. If you are one who is carrying a Torah, find somebody else with a bracelet, pass that Torah off to them, and we will start our next hakafah. Okay? Try not to hog the Torah for more than one hakafah. Make sure that everybody who's wearing a bracelet gets a chance to dance our Torahs around. All right, I think that's good for now. We turn to page 230, and we all rise. Get out the Torahs. Ein kamocha v'Elohim Adonai, ve'en Masecha Malchutcha Malchut Kol Olamim Umemshaltecha Bechol Dor Vador Adonai Melech Adonai Malach Adonai Yimbo Leolam Vaed Adonai Oz Le'amo Yiteni Adonai Yevarech Et Amo V'Shalom Av HaRachamim Heitiv Avitzoncha Et Zion Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim Ki b'cha levad batachnu Melech El Ram Vanisa Adon Olamim Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah Ki mitzion tetzeh Torah Udavar Adonai Mirushalayim. Page 232. Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah Le'amo Yisrael B'kedushato Adonai Adonai El Rachum V'Chanun Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed V'Emet Notzer Chesed La'alafim Nosei Avon V'Fesha V'Chata V'Naked Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo Gadlu Adonai Iti Unaromama Shemo Yachdav Lecha Adonai Hagedula V'Hagevura V'Hatiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahod Kicho B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz Kicho B'Shamayim U'Va'aretz Ch'Adonai HaMamlacha V'Yamid Na'aseh L'chol Rosh Hoshiana Hoshiana Hatzlichana Hatzlichana Anenu V'Yom Koreinu Anenu Anenu V'Yom Koreinu Anenu Anenu V'Yom Koreinu Anenu Anenu V'Yom Koreinu Anenu Anenu V'Yom Koreinu. This is going to be a Hakafa 1. That was our prelude. That was our prelude. No, it's good. Switch around if you can find somebody. Elohei Haruchot Hoshiana, page 236. Bochen Levavot Hatzlichana Goel Chazak Anenu V'Yom Koreinu Anenu Anenu V'Yom Koreinu Anenu Anenu V'Yom Koreinu Anenu Anenu V'Yom Koreinu Anenu Anenu V'Yom Koreinu Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad Hine matov Shabbatachim gam yachad. Now, I want everyone who has stayed in their seat to stop being so Protestant and get into the aisles and actually celebrate this Torah. Just don't trip somebody who has the Torah. Hakafa number 2, we're at the bottom of page 236. Dover tzedakot Hoshiana Hadur bilvusho Hatzlichana Batik b'chasidanu V'yom korenu Anenu V'yom korenu Anenu V'yom korenu Anenu V'yom korenu Anenu V'yom korenu Hakafa 3 Zach ve'yashar Hoshiana Komel dalim Hatzlichana Tovu metiv anenu Ve'yom korenu 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 Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu 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 Chai. Hakafa number 4. Yodea machshavot Hoshiana Kabir v'naor Hatzlichana Lovish tzedakot anenu V'yom korenu Anenu Anenu V'yom korenu Anenu V'yom korenu Anenu V'yom korenu Or Zarua Tzadik Or Yisrael Lev Simcha Or Zarua Tzadik Or Yisrael Lev Simcha Or Zarua Tzadik Lev Simcha Or Yisrael Lev Simcha Or Zarua Tzadik Or Yisrael Lev Simcha Or Yisrael Lev Simcha. Page 240. Melech Olamim Hoshiana Naor Ve'adir Tzlichana Somech Noflim Anenu Ve'yom Korenu Anenu Ve'yom Korenu Korenu Anenu V'yom korenu Anenu V'yom korenu Hakafa 6 Ozer dalim Hoshiana Podehu matzil Hatzlichana Tzur olamim anenu V'yom korenu Anenu V'yom korenu Anenu V'yom korenu Ela chamda libi Chosana ve'alna titalem Ela chamda ve'alna titalem Ela chamda titalem Ela chamda libi Chosana ve'alna titalem Ela chamda libi Chosana ve'alna titalem Hela chamda libi, Hosanna ve'anati talem. Hakafa 7. Is there anybody who has a bracelet who has not yet gotten a chance? Well done, guys. All right. Kadosh v'nora, Hoshiana, Rachum v'chanun, Hatzlichana, Shomer habrit anenu, B'yom korenu, anenu, B'yom korenu, anenu, B'yom korenu, anenu, B'yom korenu. If I could recall my Torahs to the front. Tomech temimim Hoshiana Takif la'ad Hakliachna Tamim b'masav anenu B'yom korenu Anenu B'yom korenu Anenu B'yom korenu Anenu B'yom korenu Anenu B'yom korenu. Let's keep that nigun going so I can take a drink of water and we can put everything except for the whoever has the Shalom Torah. That would be Barton. Good.
So
Barton,
hang on to that.
if you could sit over there with our Shalom Torah. We will need that later. Hold on one sec. And then Michael with our Star Torah, you're not going to put yours back, but we're going to have you put the other one back. And Ami and Ronan, you guys are going to put your Torahs back as well. So. All right, Michael.
Mine looks like it's right at the start.
Yours is at the end.
I'm sorry, you're right.
All right. You may be seated.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Oh, you get to do this part. It's that one. And then here's something to me.
Mershut El Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanorah, with permission of the great, mighty, and awesome God, and with permission of the Torah, more precious than fine gold and pearls, I will open my mouth in song and melody to thank and praise the one who dwells in light for giving us life, sustaining us, and enabling us to rejoice in Simchat Torah. Imdi, imdi, imdi. Arise, arise, arise. Give praise to the Creator, and may God give us the privilege to witness our children and grandchildren occupied with the delight in Torah. Ta'amod Harav Azriela Bat Abraham Vesarah Kalat Torah, let the bride of Torah arise.
So I'm going to read the very last words of our Torah. Where's my blessing? Here it is. If you'd like to follow along with the blessings, you can follow along on page 245. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMorach. Baruch Adonai HaMorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Lo kam navi od b'Yisrael k'Moshe asher yod'uhu Adonai panim al panim l'chol ha'otot v'hamoftim asher shalcho Adonai la'asot be'eretz Mitzrayim lefar'o ulchol avadav ulchol atzov Ulcho hayad hachazaka ulcho hamora hagadol asher asa Moshe lenei kol Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Together on page 243, we say together, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. Be strong, and let us find strength in each other, and let us return quickly to the end of Deuteronomy once again. It is my pleasure now to invite everyone to take a moment and to move around that table in the middle of the room. What we're going to do is we're going to roll our Torah back to Bereshit, and we're going to do so by me giving you a tour through our Torah so that you can see some of the amazing things that are in our text that we usually don't get to get up close and personal. If you have a small child who is going to be itching to touch the Torah, please place that small child on your lap. Actually, let's put Barton's Torah back so he can join us.
Oh, all right.
So we all rise as we open up the ark so that we can put Barton's Torah back for the moment. And Ami's Torah as well.
Yes.
But I could keep it.
Oh, no.
No, we got to put that one back in the ark now. So if you hand it to Rabbi Ben.
But I want to keep it.
You can keep it different. Right now, we're handing this one back. Gotta go home.
But I will keep it today.
I know. He misses his friend.
And next time it comes back,
All right.
I can bring it
Whoa.
and give it back.
Are we sure? Okay.
All right. So if everybody takes a moment and please sits around the table. If you're not good at reading upside down, you're going to want to sit on the back end of the table.
Exciting bit, Ami, this is the interesting bit.
All right. Please come sit. Please come sit. All right. How many of you, come on, sit. I'm going to make you sit before I do anything. Come on in. Don't be afraid. I'm going to need people on either side of this to make sure that the Torah stays steady, because as you can see, we have a few inches on either side, and we all want to make sure that the Torah stays on the table, okay? So Rabbi Myra is doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing if the Torah comes in front of you, okay? You hold it by the rollers, and you steady it, okay? So who remembers, I just chanted the last word of the Torah. Who remembers what that last word was? Yisrael, that's right. And who knows what the first word of Torah is? No cheating, Laura, because you get to chant it later. So, Bereshit, good. Yisrael, we end with the people Israel, and we begin with the beginning, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Torah itself, because we don't often get to find out about the Torah. The Torah is compiled of, I'm going to actually, can I have Paula, can you go sit next to your dad? Because I need some grown-ups who have hands right here next to me. So can I have a grown-up? Yeah, Barton, fabulous, excellent. Because Aaron doesn't, no, right there, it's fine. Just sit next to Aaron. You're good. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to roll a few columns. Ellie, please sit. Thank you. Okay, we're going to roll a few columns. Rabbi Myra is going to hold this one. Laura, if you could come over here and hold this end for us. Okay, pause. Okay, so what you're looking at here, Ronan, can I have the yad, please? Thank you. What you're looking at here is the very, very end of Torah. And Torah is made up of columns here. And as you know, Torah goes this way. We're going to go backwards in time through the Torah this time because it's Simchat Torah and we have to roll all the way back to the beginning. Our last word here, Le'enei Kol Yisrael, our last word there. One of the things that you notice about Torahs is that at the top of each column, there is the letter Vav. And every column starts with that letter Vav. So as the Torah comes closer to you, you'll be able to see that the letter Vav is going to be at the top of each of the columns here. Feel free to interrupt me if you have questions. Rabbi Ben, you have a question. What's up?
Every single column?
Every single, maybe. Let's find out, right? Yeah, Ellie. Why? Because it is a great way of organizing things, and there are lots of vavs in the Torah. Because it means the word and.
How does it organize things when they're literally the exact same word?
Yes, because then you know, when you're the sofer is the person who writes the Torah. You know that you can fit all of your words, and you know that you're exactly in the right place, and you can skip easily, right? Because you know the vav word that is at the top of each of the columns. So it's one of the ways of making a Torah very nice and pretty. And it's really cool, right? It's a cool fact. So the columns are also what we call justified here. And I want everyone to lean over here. If you're on this side and you want to come stand behind, I want you to take a look at yadati. This word yadati. You've got a yud. You've got a dalit that's kind of stretchy. You've got an ayin. And then you've got a really stretchy tav and a yud, right? That's because if you notice, each of these columns goes straight down the line here and straight down the line there. Yeah, and oh, look at that. Yeah, this one had to be stretched too, right? So every Torah is a little bit different because it's handwritten. Yeah, this lamed here is really stretchy, and the resh here is very, very stretchy. Yeah, Ellie.
Why is it so stretchy? What's the purpose of it?
Yeah, it's so it comes out nice and even on this side. So the sofer was like, oh, okay, tootling along here, and then went, uh-oh, I only have 2 letters, and I have to have it justified, right? It makes it beautiful too, doesn't it? If you notice here, this has a column within a column, right? We've got a double column here. This is Parshat Ha'azinu, and Parshat Ha'azinu is one of the last songs done by Moses. And it's one of his last missives. And we set it apart because it looks beautiful and it's his last official words to us. The empty spaces, right? It's not just that we have some of these empty spaces, these big breaks here. We also sometimes have big spaces in between things. And sometimes, meaning later on in the Torah, you're going to see that there are letters inside some of those empty spaces. So check and see if you can find some of those letters. Yeah, also look at all of the letters. Look at the shin here. Do you see those 3 little crowns there? You can see you've got crowns on the shin and on the nun. All of those are very, very different. Which one? Yeah, the nun here, the tzadi here. Those crowns are to beautify the Torah. And we have a midrash that says that Rabbi Akiva could learn in the crowns many halachot, many Jewish laws, just by reading the crowns of the Torah. So as we go through, I want everyone to see, don't open it up too much, please. Oh, good. Excellent. Good. Okay. So as we navigate through the Torah here, I want to show you kind of how to handle a Torah. When you touch a Torah, you touch the Torah with the rollers, and you can touch the back of the parchment. This parchment is made out of calf skin, okay? And it's made out of a special ink as well that is mixed up by the sofer and applied with a feather quill. We still write our Torahs with feather quills. And it takes a lot of time and practice to become a sofer. Any of you burgeoning calligraphers, this is a fabulous, fabulous thing. Yeah, water bottles go off the table. Okay? So, as you can see, our Torah is also stitched together. And each of these pages, right? How many columns do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Each of these pages are stitched together so that the sofer can keep track of all of the columns that they've done. And they go from the beginning all the way to the end, column by column, row by row. Every one of these spaces is in the place where it's supposed to be in the Torah. Yeah. How many columns? That's a great question, and I actually have to look at my notes because I always forget how many columns. A standard Amud is 42 lines each. So in general, it's like 40 to 60 lines. And how many Amudim? It looks like it's 245 to 247, depending on what you do with Ha'azinu. Because there are some places where you can have some variation for your Torah, okay? Every Torah is written from what is called a tikkun. A tikkun is a book that has all of the markings that our sofer needs in order to be able to know exactly how big the spaces are and where to write and how many columns. There are different tikkunim that people use in different traditions. So sometimes you'll see a Yemeni Torah is going to look slightly different because they're writing from a different tikkun. Yes, please.
Not always. No, not always.
You almost, and in the Torah text, you almost never can. You actually have to know when you're going through. So when I read today, I started here, v'lo kamna v'od, and then this phrase ends here, panim al panim, and I had to know that that's where the verse ends. Other places, right? This is one verse. So sometimes you can tell, but most of the time you can't. This is, I think, 21 verses here in Ha'azinu, and you just have to know where they all are.
So when one studies reading the Torah, do you study that off of the Torah?
You study it off of a special book called a Tikkun Korim. And a Tikkun Korim is a reader's tikkun. So it's different from the one that the sofer uses to write this Torah. It offers the cantillation and it offers the verse markings in a way that the other tikkun doesn't. And the Chumash actually doesn't have all of the vowel hints and the diacritical marks that you need in order to be able to read. It has many of them, but not all of them. Yeah, what do you need?
What is the ink made of?
The ink is actually a vegetable ink. So it's mixed out of some vegetable dyes, I believe. Yeah. All right. So let me check all of my general Torah. Ami, can you pick that up for me? Oh, there's a kid's book. Thank you. Yeah. So how do you think the sofer tests the quill, right? Because you're writing with a feather. How do you think the sofer tests the quill? the way the sofer tests their quill to see if it works is that they get a piece of parchment that is not the Torah that they're working on, and they write the name Amalek, and then they cross it out. And they write the name Amalek, and they cross it out. Amalek was the king who attacked us from behind, and we are supposed to blot his name out. It's one of the mitzvot. And so a sofer, every time they test their quill or test their new ink, they write the name of Amalek and blot it out. It's actually a great way to test if your pen works, is to write the name of Amalek and to block it out. So I advocate writing it in Hebrew so you can practice your Hebrew as well. There are anywhere from 3 to 8 columns per sheet. Sephardi and Mizrahi Torahs have more columns per sheet. I think their sofers are amazing because they can go 8 columns without making a terrible mistake. Ashkenazi Torahs are much more modest. They go for about 3 to 5. Yes, this is an Ashkenazi. Yes, all of our Torahs are Ashkenazi Torahs. Yep. All over. Yeah. Yep. And LA. There are a bunch in LA as well. Yep. There are tons of different sofrim and sofrot, and they are all over the place. There's a woman who actually only teaches other women to write Sifrei Torah and Megillah scrolls and mezuzot and tefillin scrolls and all of the other things that are written by hand. So lots of really cool stuff going on. If anybody's interested in the calligraphy, I actually have the curriculum and would love a chavruta for it. There are how many letters in the Torah? Guess. 22. Well, there are 22 letters in Hebrew, but not in the Torah. How many in the Torah? There are over 300,000 letters in a Torah, and each one of those is written by hand. All right, so let's navigate our way through the Torah. This is the section where Moses dies. Everyone say no. Yeah. Moses dies and God buries Moses. We still don't know where Moses is buried. And going back in time, we have Moses' final lecture. We're here in the book of Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy. And the book of Deuteronomy is Moses' lecture to us. It is a retelling of Exodus and Leviticus and Numbers. It doesn't seem to really know what's going on with Genesis, but I'm sorry, did I just stab you? Yeah, sorry. And as we go through, Moses is lecturing all of the Israelite people. I would love for you to start following me. I'm going to ask you to sit down, Ellie. I'll stand in front of you. Okay. As we go through, most of these paragraphs start, Most of these paragraphs start with, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe, and God said to Moses something. That's how a lot of the book of Deuteronomy starts. And so it's very difficult when you are somebody who's reading from Torah to navigate through the book of Deuteronomy because you're thinking to yourself, okay, my thing starts, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe. All of these start, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe. It's actually a very difficult thing to do. And that's part of what the Tikkun Korim, which is the reader's Tikkun, helps you navigate which column you're in and where you are. I want everyone to look here. Leviticus has the same problem, although the hint with Leviticus is you have to look at the last word of the paragraph, not the first. That's the trick with Leviticus. If you look, there are dots over here. These dots are over... Yeah, if you see, there are a couple of places where those dots are. This is Lanu Uvanenu. This is the hidden things belong to God and are revealed to us. Okay, there are places throughout the Torah where Sofrim have added little embellishments to make sure that we know some of these special pieces. As we go through, so we are talking and Moses is lecturing. Let's bring this in. And if you see, these two know what they're doing. They're rolling this really tight. And these two know what they're doing because they're not letting it get too loose. One of the things that makes our parchment let's pause there. One of the things that makes our parchment good is that our parchment is wrapped very tightly around the rollers. And that's one of the things that keeps it from getting brittle and keeps it from getting cracked. And we roll them every single year. If you don't use it, you'll lose it, unfortunately, with the Torah. So you'll see us all year round. We're using a different Torah every time to make sure that we're taking care of our Torah and conditioning our Torah. And here in Reno, humidifying our Torah, because that's a huge part of preserving this animal skin, which is very fragile and hand sewn in. And we don't have a sofer yet in our community, so we would have to fly someone in, which would be incredibly expensive. So we take good care of our Torah. I want you to look here. We have a bunch of empty spaces here. Each of them starts arur, 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 arur. Rabbi Myra's making the right sound. Arur, cursed be, cursed be, cursed be. This is the blessings and the curses, right? This is a section of the Torah where we have a list of blessings that happen and a list of curses that will happen if we disobey. And let's keep going. We're going to roll, roll, roll. As we go through, I'm going to actually come down here. Okay, pause. Okay, I'm just trying to find my ayin dalet. Okay, let's keep ourselves honest. We've got a vav, we've got a vav, we've got a vav, we've got a vav, we've got a vav. So far, so good, right? All of these have vavs at the top of the column. The hint is that there will be a column that does not have a vav in it. It's a very special column. Okay, are you good? Oh, I thought you were gonna. Okay, so we are going to keep an eye out as they roll for some unusual things. We saw our vavs there. We see a lot of our columns start either key something or low something, right? Lots and lots and lots of different columns that have those words that begin Moses' speech, because again, Moses is telling us what we should and should not be doing. So, yeah, what's really interesting here? Here, use this.
We think about the way we line our paper, right? As
Yes.
the bottom, where the bottom of the letter is.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually being used as the top guide.
Correct. If you look in the margins, you can see these very faint lines, right? And everything is top justified. That the letters hang from the lines rather than sit on the lines. It's one of the things that is different between block lettering is supposed to hang and script lettering is supposed to sit. So all of us who normally write block lettering on the line, you should bump it up and work on your calligraphy skills to get your top justification there. Okay, so let's keep going. Why don't you keep? I'm sorry, Jeva?
Oh, I was wondering if the little lines were scored in or if they were.
They are scored. Yeah, it's actually scored with a bone. There's a bone. If any of you have done bookbinding, that bone scraper almost, and it's also what's used. Oh, pause. It's also what's used to correct if you mess up a word or mess up a letter. You can chip off the ink, but it is something that is done in certain cases, and certain cases cannot be done, and then you would have to start over, unfortunately. Yeah, the tape is actually a kosher tape that can be used for Torahs like ours in very dry areas. It's actually very difficult for them to lay flat because if you look underneath it, it's folded in on itself and underneath. So that kosher tape is created so that it lays flatter. And then it's, of course, sewn in. Look at the stretchy olive here. So you'll see a lot of different letters, mostly the ones with the long tops, but sometimes you'll get an olive, which is, I think, very fun. All right, let's keep going. Oh, that's a question for Rabbi Myra. I don't know that. There you go. We don't know where, or do we know where any of our Torahs came from? No. I think it was before all of our times. Okay, so we've got vavs. Keep going. Yes, please. So there are a lot of things that can make a Torah unkosher. It's a great question. We actually have an unkosher Torah in our ark. It's the small one that we haven't brought out. Some of the things that make a Torah unkosher is a tear in the parchment. It's stitching that has come undone for a certain measurement of stitching. If I turned to Eliana and I said, what is this letter? Do you know what that letter is? It's a resh, right? But if the letter got scratched such that a child couldn't tell what the letter was, the whole Torah would be rendered unkosher until we got that letter fixed. So even the smallest scrape from your yad can render a Torah unkosher, which is why we are so ginger with it and why we keep water bottles off of anywhere near it. Well, so it depends on the error, right? So if it's just a word that got scratched off, every once in a while you get something like here, this is very close to the edge, and maybe the top of that sadi will chip off. Then what you can do is you can just go back in and you can correct it with the right, you can have a sofer correct it with the ink. But if it's the case of a tear or something that is in the middle of this, what they would do is they would take the Torah, they would unsew this entire thing, rewrite this section, and then sew it back in. Yes?
It wasn't that long ago when we got the Torah's check.
Inspected, yeah.
Right, and they, I think it was San Diego, went to inspect. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right, we worked in our library at that time, you could pull a letter in.
Yes, yeah, there are sofers that will allow people to put crowns on or to put a letter in that you can practice. So it's an amazing, amazing art. If you look at this word "who" here, you can see that the aleph was corrected. So as this aleph comes past you, you can see it's very, very shiny, differently shiny from all of the rest of them. Charlotte, come on over. It's differently shiny, and you can see that something had happened with the parchment underneath it, and so they had to scrape off the vav, the aleph, and then part of the hay, and then re-put it on. And the ink was slightly different. The formulation that they used was slightly different, so it looks a little different, and it's shinier. All right, this section right here, I'm going to read part of this. Kaved et avicha ve'et imecha. Honor your father and your mother. Lo tirtzach, velo tin'af, velo tignov. This is our second iteration of the 10 Commandments. There are 2 different iterations, one in Exodus and one in Deuteronomy. This is our Deuteronomy iteration of our 10 Commandments. We are going to keep going through. Oh,
Right before that, Charlotte and I were reading before.
oh, good. What do you have?
We're reading right there.
Oh, that's right. We've got this big ayin here, if you see, and a big dalid. And this here says, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And it has the big ayin and the big dalid in the Torah text. So that's the beginning of the Shema. And then we have Yahavta et Adonai Elohecha. What's this? Yes, ayin dalid. And ayin dalid is the word id, a witness. The Torah is a witness to everything that we do. Yeah, so ayin dalid is a very important set. Mm-hmm. Yep. So let's keep going. We've got vavs at the top of all of these columns. I want one of you guys to tell me where the not vav is, okay? So keep an eye out. That's a vav. Those are all vavs. Yep. All right. So as we get to the beginning of Deuteronomy here, Eila Devarim Asher Diber Moshe, this giant space tells us that we are leaving the book of Deuteronomy and we're going into the book of Numbers here. Deuteronomy, again, is our recap of Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers. It's all of Moses is talking to us. We have been through a fifth of the Torah now. So let's keep going. We're going to go a little bit more quickly through Numbers and Deuteronomy. There's some fun stuff. Keep an eye on the top of these columns here. Lots of dead birds and lots of census, lots of names of people. Yep. All right. So if you look, pause real quick. Look at how different this piece of parchment is from that piece of parchment. It looks like they were perhaps pieced together from two different animals that they, for a while, had one animal parchment, and then they ran out of that guy and, went on to a cousin. And they might be. It could be. Yeah, it could be. Although the handwriting is very similar. You can generally see when there's been a replacement because every sofer has different handwriting. It looks uniform, but there are stylistics that you can tell when the sofer has changed. Okay, what'd you find for us? Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah. Sometimes it's actually very difficult. I don't know if any of you have tried to write with a quill, but it's very, very difficult to write evenly with a quill. So this comes past you, you can see this mem got a little bit smudgy here, but it's still perfectly kosher because Ellie, you can tell that's a mem, right? Yeah, totally fine.
I have written with a quill, but it's difficult.
Yeah, it is very difficult. All right, let's keep going through the book of Numbers. Numbers is us setting up our society. It's setting up a system of taxation. It's setting up...
Found it.
Ah, we found it. Oh my gosh, where?
Here.
Hold on, here. Okay, at the beginning of this column, let's keep going a little bit. At the beginning of this column, it says, pause, right here. It says, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, mishkenotecha Yisrael. How good are your tents, Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. One of the only columns that doesn't have a vav starts with our enemies blessing us. Let's keep going. Okay, keep going. And feel free to point out stuff if you notice it. Let's see, did I miss anything? There we go. Okay, something super weird is coming up. How you doing down there? Are your arms dying? Yeah, no, she's a pro. Yes. It is a sort of 3, 4, 5-ish. Okay, yeah, pause. So we've got 5 here. Our sofer was getting a little ambitious in the middle of Numbers. And then we go back to 4 here and 4 here. So it really doesn't matter how many columns are on each amud, each page of Torah. Yeah.
Is each page created bespoke, or do they just keep a file of?
It's a great question. Torahs are usually created one page on the desk. You write the page, and then you put it on the top of the pile, and then it's sewn together at the end. So you have all of them, because what also happens is you create the page, and then your friend gets to go through and check your work, because it's not enough for one person to go through the Torah itself. Okay, hold on. Yep, and they do it 3 times before it's done. Yep. Correct. It takes years to write a Torah.
Standard price of the Torah is not to feed the sofer and their family before
In Israel. When they have people who are professional sofrim who do nothing else, absolutely. Yes. In these United States, where most sofrim and sofrot are also educators and are doing this over longer periods of time, a different thing is kind of worked out. So diasporic and Israeli techniques are different, because the Israelis have really professionalized some of this sifrut in a way that it's still done by people like you and me here in the States, who are trained to do this and who learn how to do this, but don't make a living doing it. It's more of a passion and a gift to the community. All right, Ellie, you're so good with Hebrew. What's that letter? It has a hat, right? It looks really weird, right? Okay, that's because it's backwards. It's backwards. This is a backwards nun. And this is one of those letters that's in the middle of this blank space. And it's got this backwards nun. It says, Vayehi bin so Haaron, Vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai v'yafutzu oivecha. We all know that one from the Torah service, right? This section here is offset so that you know where it is at all times. It's the middle of the book of Numbers here. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, there are plenty of seats. There are plenty of seats. Yeah. Hillary, you actually get to like sit and see what's going on. All right, right here, pause. We've got a very special, hey, Kohen, would you like to do this one? Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. This is our priestly blessing. This is our priestly blessing here, and it's always offset so we can see where it is. Well, let's keep going. All the beginning of the book of Numbers, keep going. All the beginning of the book of Numbers, this is all the census. These people belong to this tribe. These are the number of people that are in this tribe. This person begat this person. We're creating our society here. Pause. And this is the beginning of the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers. Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe Bamidbar Sinai be'Ohel Moed. So this is the very beginning of the book of Numbers, which is Bamidbar in Hebrew. So now we're in the book of Leviticus. The book of Leviticus, as I told you, the trick to learning Leviticus is the last word of each of the sections. Because Leviticus, you're going to notice we had all this lovely spacing, all of the page breaks. This is nice. Numbers is nice. And we'll get to Leviticus, and we have giant blocks of text. So keep going through. Oh, good. What's your question? There are 5 books of Moses. Oh, I don't know. I haven't sang that in a long time. There you go. Yeah. All right. So we've got our 5 books. We are here in the middle. All right. All right. Keep going. Keep going. So we've got Ellie on Vav Watch here. So let's keep going. Keep going. And look, you can see the Lamed and the Aleph there that's super stretched. Okay. Ellie, where'd you find it? Right there. Yep. Shnei haSe'arim Gorlot Gorel Echad Ladonai. This is another one of those columns that I'm going to make sure that I have the right. Oh, I actually don't have this one. You found one that I didn't have on my cards. Well done. All right. So this is another section. It is in the middle of all of our sacrifices, and we're hearing about all of the different sacrifices and what they mean and how they draw us closer to God here. Let's keep going.
What happens if someone drops a Torah? What does that really happen?
Yes, okay. So, chas v'shalom, it should ever happen. Yeah, the first thing you do is you pick up the Torah. Second thing you do is you make sure that the person's okay. Because far more than their dignity might be hurt. Let's pause. What happens is immediately your rabbi will panic, grab the Torah, and inspect it. If the damage is not, if there is no damage to the parchment, you're good. I actually had the misfortune once of snapping the top of a roller off. The wood had gotten very weak, and I brought it out of the ark, bonked it up against the top of the ark, and the roller snapped. The fix was glue and time. And we retired that Torah to one of the arks in the classroom, and it was fine. It was never unkosher. If something happens to the parchment, the first thing I will do is go into the bathroom and cry, and then I will call a sofer to examine our Torah. And likely what we'll do is we will bring our Torah to them or otherwise get it to them, because bringing them to us is often very expensive. And they will go through, especially the section, I'll probably mark with a Post-it what happened, and then they'll go through and make sure that everything's kosher. We'll get the thumbs up. The fasting and all of that sort of thing is more of a, let's not have this happen again. But in general, I don't believe that that's any more than a Boba Maisa to scare people. Yes, the shin, right? Yep. Yes. Yeah, oftentimes congregations who do choose to do the fast, what they will do is they will have 40 people sign up to each do 1 day of a total fast. In that way, we do a 40-day fast, but the person who had the misfortune of holding the Torah when something broke doesn't have to do it by themselves or, suffer.
That's the person like, I do a 40-day fast, and then I started learning started to eat supposed to eat myself later on. I was like, oh, that how you do a 40-day fast?
There are lots of ways to do it. In general, it's one of those things where like everyone, while the Torah is being repaired, they will take turns. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It depends. So I did carry a Torah. Our congregation in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, donated a Torah to the Abraham Geiger College in Germany, the first seminary that opened up in Germany post-Holocaust. And we had this giant Torah that we almost never took out of the ark because it was so big that only a few of us could actually hold it. And we certainly couldn't do Hagba with it, but they were thrilled to have it to learn from. And on the plane, we all got to spend an hour holding the Torah in our lap. I prefer children in your lap rather than a giant Torah. But yeah, we spent time doing that, and it actually had its own hotel room because it's very difficult to sleep halakhically with a Torah in your space. Because you have so many rules for what can and can't be done with a Torah in your presence. Yes. Correct. You can't use the bathroom. You can't undress. You can't turn your back to it. You can't. So all of those things. When we had our services in our house and we had the Torah at our house, we actually cleared out an entire closet in our guest room and set up a space for the Torah so that we could keep the Torah in a place where it had its own space and we could close the door like an ark and it had its own space. So on that plane, yes, we had the Torah covered in a talit. Actually, I had a really big talit and we wrapped it up in a talit and we all just kind of passed it down the aisle. And once your arm got numb, you got to pass it to the next person. And we carried it with us all the way to the URJ biennial that year. Yep. All right, Ellie.
So there's a historic Torah out there. What happened to it exactly?
Yes, that's one of our Holocaust Torahs. Yeah, that's one of our Holocaust Torahs. It's actually, there was a big debate about Holocaust Torahs, whether we should display them or whether we should bury them. Different communities have done different things. Some communities display them to make sure that people understand kind of what happened. That one was buried first. Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting. Yeah. So that one's a Holocaust Torah. This one is in pristine condition, as we can see. All right, let's keep going through Leviticus. Oh, sorry. Yes, please. Perfect. Yep. Yes. Yes. Torahs and cellos. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that often happens. Yeah. Yeah, so cool. Oh, very cool. Yeah, no, that's one of the coolest things that I think that people have chosen to do with Holocaust Torahs. All right, let's keep going. So we can make sure that we can get to the beginning of Leviticus. All right, so Ellie, I got a question for you here. Do you notice anything weird about this first word? You've got a vav, you've got a yud, you've got a kuf, you've got a resh, and what's that?
It's a very, 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 very tiny olive.
It's a very tiny aleph, right? In the word Vayikra, right? The aleph in the Vayikra is always written very small, very small. And another strange thing is that the end of the book of Exodus is also justified. If you look at the other endings, it would have just been Yisrael b'chol ma'asehem. It would be probably about to here, right? Because they don't stretch. You don't have to stretch every single line. But the end there of the book of Exodus is often stretched in Ashkenazi Torahs. They're not there, are they?
Then how do you know how to read it?
You learn how to read it. You learn how to read it by reading the Tikkun and learning a lot of Hebrew to be able to do it. For your bat mitzvah, we'll do this. Yep, because you know it well enough. And once you get to your bat mitzvah, you'll know this well enough to be able to do your portion. All right, let's keep going through Exodus. So in the book of Exodus, we start hearing all of the amazing things that are happening. The revelation at Sinai, all of the many different things that happen with Moses and Aaron and Miriam as the people are escaping Egypt and then making their way through the desert, having our relationship with God, and then going into the very edge of the land, which Moses unfortunately never gets to. Let's pause real quick. Did you get it? Oh, yes, good. Yep. Make sure you see the tiny olive there. Yeah, so look, this is probably where they had to scrape it off and rewrite it. So oftentimes you'll see those smudges, but you can also see, like, these are not watermarks. This is from the skin of the animal. So oftentimes, especially with calf skin, you can actually see the spots on the animal. So some Torahs will be very spotted and other Torahs will be less. Ours is kind of, less spotted, but these are not watermarks. They're spots from the skin of the animal. I think it can be any kosher animal skin, I believe. The bigger the animal, the more real estate you've got to work with. Yeah. True.
You can find some beautiful ones made from deer skin that are going to be reddish.
Yeah.
This is one calf, and that's the next calf.
Well, this is one side of the calf. That's the next side of the calf. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, because we're not talking like 1-year-old calf. We're talking like 3 years old, and they are sizable and have lots and lots of skin to work with. All right. So all through here is our description of the tabernacle, the Ohel Moed, the special place where God's feet touched the ground, and we hauled it through the desert to make sure that God was always with us. Let's keep going through our book of Exodus, because as we get through our book of Exodus, we've got our. Keep going. Oh, okay. I'm not rushing you. Yeah, this is the fun part. I totally stuck Rabbi Myra with the hard part. All right, so if you can see, this cow looks very different. We've got some big spots here on this one. Okay, let's pause real quick. No, it's not big enough, but it will need some glue eventually. Yep, that is a bookmark for the Sofer, but it is not a problem. I think it has to be a hand's width of. Yeah, it has to be very loose, and it's still attached on the back. So, yep. All right, so let's keep going here. All right, and we've got here, pause. This is going to be coming past you. This is our first set of the 10 Commandments. Kaved et avicha ve'et imecha, and lo tirtzach, and lo tin'af, and lo tignov, and all of the amazing commandments that we have. This is a very, very similar set, but not exactly the same. Okay, let's keep going, because that's a really good question. You'll see. Yeah, so you'll see a lot in here between our 10 Commandments and Shirat Hayam here. Pause. You're going to see lots of spots from our animal, and you're also going to see lots of shiny spaces because this section was heavily corrected. This here is called Shirat Hayam, and you know part of it pretty well. You know the part that goes, Ozi v'zimratia vayehi li lishua, and then you know. Where'd it go? Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, mikamocha nedar ba'kodesh nora tehilot osef fele. It's our Song of the Sea. This is where Miriam and the women led everyone in dancing and saying thank you to God after Pharaoh's armies were drowned in the sea. We have just left Egypt. All of the revelation and everything happens in these sections that are coming past you now. And the golden crown, we're not talking about that. Yeah, let's not desecrate that. Yeah. Rule number 1 of Torah Club is don't mention the golden calf. All right, let's keep going. We're headed towards the beginning of the book of Exodus. We've got all of our plagues. For those of us in Torah study, this is about where we are, okay? It's taken us 3 years to go that far, guys, and we've got that far left to go. Just letting you know, this is turn it, everything is in it. All right, and so here in this section, wow, you guys got past Shirat Hayam real fast. This is the very beginning of Exodus. These are all of our plagues. Each of these plagues basically has its own column where all of it happens. Remember how much time we took to go through all of our plagues? It takes columns and columns of the Torah. This is the very beginning of the book of Exodus here. Elah Shemot B'nai Yisrael. And these are the names of the children of Israel. Yeah.
Is there one special column in each?
Yeah.
There's one in each. Is there one in each book?
Yeah, this is Yehudah, Judah, who is the eponymous ancestor. Eponymous is a great word. It's the one that we're named after. We are the Jews because of Judah.
Is there one special column for each book?
No. Yeah. I have a polemic or I have an actual answer. Do you want my polemic or do you want my actual answer? Okay, so my polemic is because we are far more like Judah, the imperfect person who repents and becomes a better human being, than we are like Joseph. And Jacob. Okay, so you're saying versus Israel, right? So that one I'm not sure. But the real answer is the Greeks called us Judaismos. And they called us, they were the Hellenismos and we were the Judaismos. And that was a name that stuck. Judea.
Israel was destroyed much earlier, and Judea survived for much longer. So that was the political entity that we were.
And all the Israel people eventually just kind of glomped into the Judean people, and then we all became Judaismos because of the Greeks.
Why not named after Benjamin?
So Binyamin was not a savory tribe. They were bad dudes, unfortunately. Yes. Okay. So we are going to have a history class, but it's not going to be now, because we could spend all day. Yeah, keep going. Yeah. So since you're a parent, you should stick around for that one. Yep, October 15th during Sinai School. All right, so let's go into a book of Genesis. Our book of Genesis here ends, so we are book 5. Look at how much we've already navigated. Our book of Genesis here ends with Jacob's bones being brought to the land and Joseph heading back to Egypt. All of the people of Israel end up in Egypt by the end of Genesis. This entire section here is all about our favorite patriarch, Joseph. Joseph's not a patriarch, but Joseph gets more real estate than Abraham in the Torah. All of this, Joseph was fabulous. Cinematic is a great way to put it. All right, pause. All right. all of these columns are devoted to the story of Joseph, which bridges between what we call our proto-history, which is the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and our Egyptian history. And the story of Joseph, the Joseph cycle in the middle, really is kind of its own amazing piece of literature that comes between this patriarchal narrative and our Egyptian narrative and really ties together all of our people. There's some better citations, but yes. That's true. There aren't any more fun ones. So this here as well, Joseph and his brother Judah are kind of the main characters of this entire section here. We're still in Joseph's story. We've got Judah here. Keep going. This is Vayeshev Yaakov. We're starting to get Jacob, who has handed it over to his sons, but now we're moving into the story of Jacob here. Yes, who is quite the action man himself. Here, I'm going to take those. Thank you, sir. Okay, pause. Okay, hey, Rabbi Ben, you recognize this one? All right, this is the section where Jacob goes down to Beersheba, to the land of Haran. Who knows what happens there? Well, yes, Rabbi Ben does have his bar mitzvah at exactly this point. Yep.
Oh, he puts his head on a rock, goes to sleep, and has a dream of a big ladder.
He has a dream of a big ladder, and there's all sorts of fun stuff going on with Jacob's adventures with God and dreaming. And it's something that his son Joseph picks up in the Joseph cycle, is that ability to dream, right? All right, so as we move backwards, because remember, we're moving backwards in time. Keep going. We're getting here to Ishmael. The entire story of Isaac and Ishmael is in this section right here. Isaac, even though he's a patriarch, has almost no real estate in the Torah. Actually, Sarah and Isaac's and Jacob's wives get more real estate than Isaac does. Yeah?
Abraham is this crazy guy, and Jacob is clearly like the protagonist. What is the point of Isaac?
Oh, you should have come to Torah study, man. We'd spent weeks on this. Isaac invents Esau and Jacob, the two best protagonist, hero, anti-hero duo ever. Because some people are just there to keep it going. I'll buy that. Isaac survives, man. Sure, yeah. Yes, Isaac and Rebecca have the best romance. Yeah, there are all sorts of midrashim that attempt to answer this question and to make our patriarchs make sense. But the reality is that Isaac has one page all to himself. Ellie, you got a question?
Yeah, I noticed that if you look closely, there are lines kind of like right here.
Yeah, so that's what we were talking about, that's where the letters get put on top. That's where they hang from. So the sofer knows how to write because they don't have lined paper, right? All right, let's keep going. We go through Ishmael and Isaac and all of that. And part of this whole Ishmael-Isaac thing is the Sarah and Hagar interludes. Pause real quick. All of this is Sarah and Hagar here. Sarah dies right here. And before this is all of the animosity and the competition between her and pitting the boys against each other and Hagar's banishment and all of that. So let's keep going because we are well into the Abraham narrative. Do you see how it went from like Joseph forever to Jacob forever to Abraham with a tiny bit of Isaac in the middle? All right, we've got Abraham here, and Abraham's story. One of the things that happens a lot in Genesis is Vayehira of Ba'aretz, that there is a famine in the land. And the famine happens a few times throughout the Torah and always helps to move us to where we need to be. So let's go all the way to the beginning here. Okay, here is our Noah story. We're getting to the very beginning here. Yep. We've got our Noah story. It's amazing how quickly we go from Noah right into Abraham. Oh, literally, B'nai Noah, Ve'ela Toldot B'nai Noah, Ela Toldot Shem. So these are all of his sons. Vayomer Adonai El Avram Lechacha. There it is. Yep. So we've got these are toldot, and you can tell the genealogies because they often have these spaces between the people. And you can see some of the repairs. Yeah. Yep. All right, let's keep going because we're going through the flood and all of that, all of the kind of racy stuff that happens. We are in the home stretch here. Yep. As you get to this point, we're just trying to keep it as straight as possible. All right, keep going. Okay, now pause. All right, what I'm going to do is, Laura, I am going to, Ben, can you grab the prayer book so I can call Laura? All right, can I sneak past you? I'm going to switch places with Laura. I'm sorry? Oh, I can do it if you want. All right, here's your dog. And there you go. All right. All right, here, let's So traditionally, you try not to open up more than a few columns of the Torah. Right there. That's perfect. All right. All right. So everybody should see the big bets on Bereshit. Come on down. Come on down.
Can you do it? I got nervous. Can you do it?
Yes, there is. The reward was, people might will make them.
Yeah, I was thinking you could have started with that.
All right. Baruch Adonai Havarach. Baruch Adonai Havarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Can you hold that for me, Charlotte? Awesome. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz ve'ha'aretz hayta tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tehom v'ruach Elohim merachefet al pnei hamayim vayomer Elohim yihi or vayhi or. Hold on. I've got more. Vayar Elohim et ha'or ki tov. Vayivdel Elohim ben ha'or uven ha'choshech. Vayikra Elohim la'or yom u'lechoshech kara laila. Vayhi erev vayhi voker yom echad. All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Tahom and tohu vavohu. Yeah.
Wander back and forth.
All right. Ready? Vezot haTorah. Simchat Torah Service livnei bnei Yisrael. Avi Biyad Moshe. Simchat Torah Service livnei bnei Yisrael. Avi Adonai Biyad Moshe. It's Hayiri Lama Chazikimra V'tov Eltecha Nerushar V'ravachecha Darkei V'chol Tzivottecha Shalom. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha B'nashua Charesh Yameinu Charesh Yameinu Kekedem. You may be seated.
This time, we think of those in our community who need a bit of healing, whether of body or mind or spirit. At this time, we are, of course, thinking of Laura Bartleson, Kathy Bartlett, Tracy Bartlett, Danny Berger, Sue Berkhammer, Laura Cohen, Jeffrey Four, Stephen Gould, Marlene Harris, Debbie Herman, Yolanda Jimenez, Kevin Knox, Margaret Lewicki, Harav Miriam Bat Shifra V'Pinchas, Harav Miriam Yael Chaya Bat Sarah, Aaron Morgan, Tim Ober, Claire Petersky, Carol Pevney, Jackie Ramirez, Judy Ramos, Sarah Bat Chava, Shayna Bracha Bat Esther Malka, Chris Stanton, Vanessa Wagner, Bobby Wells, Asher Zelech. We are thinking of affected communities in Hawaii. We are thinking of everyone affected by the coronavirus and long COVID. And we are thinking of the Jewish and other communities in war-torn and strife-afflicted areas, Ukraine, and unfortunately we add to that list this evening, Israel. If there are other names that you wish to add, I encourage you online to do so in the comments, or if you are present, please do so when my eyes meet yours.
Michael Gorden, yes, Sephora Ellis, and Melissa Peters.
Oh, I still could.
Richard Grove.
Barbara Hiles Mesley.
Our song of healing is Debbie Friedman's Misha Berach. It can be found on page 247. Please join me. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBrecha Limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say lecha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Our blessing for the congregation.
Oh, that's right.
It is my great honor to invite up Ellis Kruger for a blessing from the congregation. It can be found on page 252.
Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion and prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odcha levadaha, ve'yirva na'avod.
Thank you. Thank you, Ami. At this time, we turn to the Aleinu, which can be found on page 322, and I invite you, if you are able, to please rise.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת קבלה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כמוהי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, אשר לא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עוונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 327. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
You may be seated. We think now of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at the season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. At this time, we remember Scott Johnson, Catherine Linsky Foley, Henry Hank Froelich, Setsuko Olenichek, Barbara Gonzalez, Aaron Yosef, Tova Batmair Vatirza, Raymond Russell Riker, Judith Tamkin, David Torgman, Lorenzo Otero, Anita Goldwasser, Jamie Smith, Mark Umlas, Francine Catherine Barr, David Ben Avraham, Tatiana Marie Granoff, Millie Ralston, Carol Ann Garris, Esther Bat Evron, and we commemorate yahrzeits for Arthur Goldberg, Carl Javinsky, Leona Burns, Albert C. Merkin, Albert Newberger, Monroe Barnett, Janice C. Pendergraft, Arlene Levinson, Meyer Zabalski, Esther A. Goldwater, Esther Kaufman, Rabbi Abraham Feinberg, Sherry Grossman, and Vivian Friedlander. If there are other names that you wish to contribute, once again, I invite you to share them in the comments online or when my eyes meet yours.
Three members of my extended family whose names I do not know, who were
Randy Dillard.
Kaddish Yatom can be found on page 334. If it is your custom, I invite you to please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah v'alma divrach v'rutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'varach le'olam u'mei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh V'yitadar v'yit'areh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav hu ya'aseh shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all who mourn, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. Announcements? Anyone do any announcements or just?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. So our closing number this evening is.
Actually, I'm going to change that.
Oh.
So it feels a little strange to do MPL, which is our Jewish supremacy SmackDown song, when the world is the way it is right now. So we are going to instead turn to page 364, and we are going to sing Yigdal, which is a praise of God's most wonderful qualities. Yigdal Elohim chai v'yishtabach nimtza b'enet el metziuto echad v'en yachid keyichudo ne'lam v'gam en sof le'achduto en lo damut haguf ve'eino guf lo na'aroch elav kedushato kadmon l'chol davar asher nivra rishon min reshit l'reshito hino adon olam l'chol notzar yoreh gedulato u'malchuto shefa nevuato Netanoel, Anshe Segulato Vetifarto, Lokam Yisrael, Kemosheot, Navi Umabit et Munato, Torah Temet Natan Le'amoel, Al Yad Nevio Neman Beto, Lo Yachalif Ha'el, Velo Yamir Dato, Olamim Lezulato, Sofer V'yodea, Setarenu, Mabit L'sof Davar Bekadmato, Gomel Le'ish Chesed Kamifalo, Noten L'Rashara Kirishato, Yishlach L'Chetz Yamin, Yedut Olam, Kochai V'yesh Yakir Yeshuato, Chaye Olam Nata B'tochenu, Baruch Hadei Shem Tehilato, Chaye Olam Nata B'tochenu, Baruch Hadei Shem Tehilato. Chag Sameach, everyone. Thank you for being here and for celebrating on this difficult Simchat Torah and for really imbuing some joy of Torah into this community. Chag Sameach.